We are honored to welcome you, dear Misty, the first African-American female principal dancer at American Ballet Theater and a trailblazer in the world of ballet. As Oprah Winfrey put it, Misty didn't just perform ballet, she changed it. Beyond your groundbreaking artistry, you are an author, mentor, and advocate for diversity in the arts. As you take your next steps following your recent retirement and your unforgettable final bow last week, we celebrate not only your extraordinary career, but also the enduring inspiration you continue to bring to artists and audiences around the world. At FEDORA, as we champion innovation and inclusion in opera and dance, we are thrilled to explore your journey, your vision for the future of the performing arts, and the legacy you continue to build. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for all of your work.
Based on your experience and all the incredible trailblazing work that you've been doing, how would you like to see your work influence the next generation of artists that are now considering to pursue a career in this beautiful art form? What are your hopes for them?
That I just hope that what I've experienced and what I've shown the world is, that it's taught me that when you have representation and when you can see yourself reflected, that it can change everything. It's not to me just about like who's on the stage, but who believes that they belong there. And when I've seen what's possible, when you can see just the possibilities, like that little bit of a crack in the door that can open a little bit wider, can bring a whole flood of new possibilities in and new stories in. And so to me, it's bigger than even just seeing representation on the stage. It's really about who's shaping the narratives, who's calling the shots in the boardrooms. I think that art really plays out what's happening in the world. And if we only have one voice sharing that, it's not at all reflective of what's actually happening in our world and in society.
And actually coming down to this, that's why also we see a very important role to play for new works, because they're the narratives of today for tomorrow's audiences. And I was wondering, how do you feel about when you learn a new role and a new creation, and what is inspiring to be part of that innovation journey as a performing artist?
I think it's so vital. It's so important that we do continue to have new choreographers and new works that are coming into the repertoire, specifically within the classical ballet realm. Because that's how we continue to grow and explore and challenge and change, people's ideas of what they think this world can be. I think that it's one of the most special things as an artist to be able to step into a space and be a blank canvas sometimes. It's kind of like you just have to be ready for anything. Which I love these challenges as an artist, that sometimes you're going to step into the studio and the choreographer just wants you to kind of take in everything that they're giving to you. And then there are other times where they want to know your history, that your collaboration and your experience are a part of building what they're creating, which is also a really special journey too. But I love not knowing. I love stepping in and just being in the moment. And that's what being an artist is all about. I think it's about being present. It's about being vulnerable. It's about being open and strong, but also still standing firm in your thoughts and ideas. And so, I think that it's important that this next generation of young artists get to experience new works and up and coming choreographers in a way that, you think back to Marius Petipa and, all of these, iconic, ballets that we know as, staples in the rep now. And that we should be creating that for our future generations.
Absolutely. And it's all about creativity and curiosity and how those combined become, experiments of today that are the masterpieces of tomorrow. So for us, it's always a beautiful journey to accompany these projects and the artists, because they're coming to us at, like you said, a very vulnerable moment, because it's still an idea, it's still a promise. And to get a jury to identify this project really has the potential to go somewhere and to, put out a really strong message there with a very strong artistic vision. Let's give it a chance. How do you think these new works can also appeal to new audiences or encourage even more people to come and see dance, ballet in the future?
I mean, it's exactly that. I think that when you have new works, that it sparks interest from people. I think that specifically, I think here in the States, we have kind of this preconceived idea of what opera or what classical dance is, and what it's been. And if you don't have those new works, it doesn't feel inclusive of what we are going through today. A lot of these older works, yes, they can very much still be relevant, but may not be reflective of what we are going through as a society. And so I think that it's so vital in kind of capturing a new audience, that we have new works that they will be interested in coming and exploring. And so I think it's really exciting, and I'm so hopeful for the future of the fine arts and classical arts, and how we can bring new audiences in.
Coming back to ballet and its core discipline, that it requires the resilience, creativity and artistry, everything goes hand in hand. What do you think other industries can learn from this beautiful art form for their own businesses and their own way of developing their work or approaches? What you think is like the daily bread in a classroom, but that others could be inspired by?
That's such a great question. um, you know, through the work that I do with my foundation, with the Misty Copeland Foundation, it's really built on this idea of using classical dance as a form, as a tool, as a way to build leadership skills. And so I think it's definitely so many other businesses could definitely apply our approach as dancers in the studio. I think it's really about consistency. It's about understanding that when you have structure and you have this kind of discipline that's a consistent thing in your life, that it builds something that's really organic within you, things that you can rely on, this self-confidence, this sense of stability within yourself and being centered, a willingness to be open and collaborative. I don't know. There's just so many things that happen within the structure of a ballet class in an hour and a half, that are life-building skills. And they're things that's like becomes almost like a ritual that we do every day. It's like breathing. And it prepares you for the rehearsal day, but it also prepares you for the day. It prepares you for life. And these are all important skills that I think every child should be learning. And so definitely every adult should be experiencing them as well. But yeah, my whole foundation is literally built on taking these incredible skills and applying them to becoming young leaders in their communities.
That is wonderful that you're doing this. And maybe you can share also a bit more about what your foundation work is all about.
I really started it because of my own personal experiences. I was discovered at a community center in the small town I grew up in Los Angeles, California, where the local ballet teacher was looking for more diverse students. And so she was going into public schools, into community centers, and looking for talent and to give scholarship to bring into her school. And I happened to be one of those students. And so I really took this idea about, not kind of taking kids out of their communities and putting them in environments where they don't see themselves represented, they don't feel safe, they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard, and meeting them where they are, going to their home, and building a curriculum that was really built around the communities that we're serving. So right now we're a very small and new organization. It's only been 3 years since the program has been up and running. It's called Be Bold. It stands for Ballet Explorations. Ballet offers leadership development. So we're going into these communities looking to give the opportunity, a free ballet class to the kids in the community. Right now we're in the Bronx and we're in Harlem here in New York City. And we've built this curriculum with live music. They have teaching artists in the studio, people who look like them. They're listening to all kinds of music. So it's not just classical dance, but they're learning the very basics of ballet technique with the idea of creating future leaders. There may be some talent in there that we do have a pipeline to give them opportunity to further their training. But the goal is not to create professional dancers. It's to create future leaders.
That's a wonderful approach. And I'm sure that many who are running through this program right now, or who are maybe now discovering it, are really going to benefit, as you say, for life from this kind of extraordinary experience. And building on what you just said, there's, of course, a lot of change that has to be done, and transformation also takes time. But there are also a lot of systemic changes that are necessary in the industry that we're working in. And what would be your advice to, cultural leaders running ballet companies, opera houses around the world, when it comes to more inclusion and access to these art forms? What would you, from your point of view, say what would be important measures to put into place in order to make these art forms and institutions more accessible and inclusive?
I think that it's really just thinking about the people you want to serve. It seems very simple to me. I think that real inclusion means changing the systems and hiring practices and leadership and education pipelines. And it's really about, building access early. And removing as many barriers as possible. Like, it seems very easy and simple to me. Like, you think about the people you want to serve, and so how do you remove barriers and give them and make it easier for them? And to me, a lot of that is really just about making them feel seen and heard and safe, and that they have an equal opportunity to those around them. When I think about ballet in particular. A lot of the time, what's said is that there's just the talent's just not out there. And if you don't, go into these communities and give them a fair opportunity to feel that they want to show up and be vulnerable, and you have to set that stage for them. And a lot of the work that I want to continue to do with American Ballet Theater is really bringing in as many qualified teachers, represent a greater group of people within the school system, because that's where it starts. I think that it's starting there, but then it's also who's sitting in these board seats. And I'm very honored that I have just accepted a position at American Ballet Theater to serve on their board of trustees. I'll be the first artist to serve in that role. And as a Black woman, it's important for me to be there and have a seat at the table. But, I think it's just, again, making sure there's representation in all aspects of the system.
Couldn't agree more. That's a very, very fair advice. And that's what we're trying to encourage also through our activities here in Europe. I have one final question for you. Given the fact that you just came out of this whirlwind of emotion of last week, I mean, the timing of this interview is so beautiful, like the next day, after this huge life chapter, but it's just the beginning of the next one, which makes it equally exciting. I don't know, maybe it's difficult to put this into words, but what are you most grateful for when you look back at your career? And also, what are your hopes and dreams for the future?
I am most grateful for what ballet has given me, the person that it's made me. I think back to who I was as a 13-year-old. I was very underdeveloped, and I could barely speak. And having the arts come into my life completely changed me as a person. And so I'm grateful for what it's given me. I'm grateful for the relationships that I've built through this career. And to me, like, that is what I tell young people, like, to hold on to those moments, the joy, the relationships. Like, that's what all of this is about. It's about community. It's about knowing that you're not alone and that you're part of something that's bigger than yourself. And so, I wouldn't continue to do this work if I weren't hopeful for the people that are a part of it, and having faith in them doing the right thing, and wanting to make this an art form that's for the people and for the world. And so, to me, the future is bright. It's really exciting to step into this next chapter.
Well, we can't wait to follow you on that journey, and we really hope to welcome you also soon, also here in Europe, and to continue these conversations.
Thank you so much.